a few Melchizedek priests, got them in because he was trusted, got them into the priest caste that were working with the Templar mechanics. And even though they're Melchizedek, we weren't prejudiced against Melchizedeks. As long as they were working the Emerald Covenant and could be trusted, they were welcome too to help with the planetary grids. He got them in to an 11-year program, or it was like a 10 or 11-year program, of progressively working up to the point, as a Melchizedek priest, where they would be able to go to the island, the hidden city on the island, and work the big project, which was to break Nibiruan hold on the grids. And he got a group of priests in, Melchizedek priests, and they sabotaged the whole mission. And then Thoth came in himself when it all went to heck. There were raids that came in directly from Nibiru, and Thoth was with one of them that landed in the Iani, on the Iani settlement. He gave them an opportunity, the Iani priests, bless you. They were given the opportunity they needed female breeders on Nibiru to get the codes. So the Iani women were offered an opportunity. If you don't want your husbands tortured and killed and sent over as basically fish bait to the corrupt Atlantean temples, we'll let them go, but you come with us. Thoth offered that deal. This is a good example of how wonderful things and horrible things can live in the same body. A bunch of the Iani women went to try to save their husbands. It was even worse, though, because the Great Deception came in here. They were told, now we were all isolated, and I say we because I was there. That was one of my incarnational places. We came into an experience where all of a sudden there are spaceships coming from everywhere, and they're landing on the island, and they're Nibiruan spaceships. Everybody's scattering, like, oh no, what happened? They had jammed our communication lines to the inner Earth races and to Sirius B, which were our main outposts that we could receive off-planet information. We were told that they had control of the planet itself, that they'd taken the whole thing already. We were told that Alcyone Council, that's the Pleiadian Council, that works with Sirius B and the rest of them, had surrendered because they had won certain battles. We would have been left to believe that there is nothing left. And they had said, if you don't agree to come with us, we'll not only torture your husbands, we're going to blow up the whole place because we don't need it. We'll get inner Earth, and then we'll destroy all the races on the face of the planet. So if you women of the Iani care about the other life forms on this planet, you'll agree to be our breeders. You'll agree to come to Nibiru with us. Because if you don't, we'll do horrible things to this planet. We were under the understanding that, this is really bad. They have control of the whole thing. And without Alcyone Council to hold Gate 5, that meant they had Gate 5, not just Gate 4. That meant that the only hope of fixing anything was to stay alive long enough to try to figure out what to do next. So a bunch of the Iani women, because they thought that that's the way the reality was, the way it had been painted, they went with them to Nibiru to be breeders. But they didn't get to go before they got to be breeders. They had to make sure they were pregnant. There was a selection that was done. Only the best of them were chosen. Boy, did that imprint come through with us now. I think women get their total insecurity about how they look because they were treated like meat. Only the ones that had the right genetic characteristics, the right eye color, the right hair color, the right proportions, were allowed to even be selected. You got to remember, Iani women were guardian women. They also came in as part of what's called a gender twin set. They came in with their twins, something called the Maharic twins, which are their D12 level Christos twins. They're genetically bonded together, Iani twins. Male and female couples, they come in at the same time, and they have strand 1 through 6 polarized and separate, but strand 7 through 12 are bonded. So they're literally one being when you get to D7. They split up the Iani gender twin couples, and they forced the women to become breeders of Anunnaki. They raped them when necessary. If they liked one that didn't want to play the selection thing, go ahead, kill me and my mate, I don't care, we hate you, that kind of thing. You're doing something terrible, we're not going to help you. They would rape them instead, and if they happened to be able to get them to conceive, they would keep them tied up until they delivered. The deception was so horrible, it just sent ripples all the way up through the time matrix, because this person had been trusted. And it's like, he was so good when he was good, but when he went bad, boy did he go bad. Yeah.
Drunvalo trusted Thoth, too.
Thoth is Drunvalo's teacher.
Yeah.
Yep. Check out what he does with Merkaba.
About the Thoth's emerald tablet.
Yes, I'm getting to that. This is part of the Great Deception. Now remember, Thoth had in his possession Cloister Door Turret Plate 11, which was the activator disk for Shield 11 that could activate the activator site for Stargate 11, which is the one they want, because that's the one they want to close everything down at the D11 level, and they want to run it from a reverse matrix D11. He stole the Cloister Door Turret Plate. And first, to make it easier for the corrupt Atlantean Melchizedek priests in the temples, he wrote the Emerald Tablets. He put a physical written translation. And he gave them the books. And there was a lot more than the Atlantean tablets that are coming, the Emerald Tablets that are coming through now. They're just little pieces. He translated volumes of stuff on Templar mechanics and how it works, so the corrupt Melchizedek priest caste could use it to get final control over the grids. This is what the Emerald Tablet physical translations were for. They were taken off a good source, but that he had promised to never, he was going to be able to use this plate. He was not supposed to commit it to writing because of the Melchizedeks who were trying to take over the planet. If they got access to some of this stuff, it was very, very dangerous. They could they would know how to reverse the things in the grids. So he did that big boo-boo, and he did the Emerald Tablets to give to the Atlantean priest caste so they could finish their takeover job. The worst thing that he did, however, was the fact of the betrayal he did on the Magi lines there. Because this is where we started to get our gene codes really messed up with Anunnaki overlays in them. The Iani women were taken, the ones that could conceive, were taken to Nibiru, and they were given husbands. They were assigned husbands. Thoth was also one of them. He chose one of the high-coded Iani women to take as his forced wife. And they were taken to Nibiru, and might not have been so bad if there wasn't the Great Rebellion, because they were taken under the promise that their husbands would not be harmed, and that they would not hurt the planet, they would not wipe it out like they had said if we didn't cooperate. We found out, once the women were there, they found out by certain conduits of information that they could still pick up from, interdimensional communication, that they had hunted the husbands, and they had taken them, they had castrated many of them. They had taken them to the Atlantean temples, and because the husbands were highly coded too, they had used them as living electrical posts that they could run frequency through to access grids until it fried them. Some of them escaped. Not many got out that time. That was almost the decimation of the Grail lines again, where they had to be rebuilt after that. So it's not that I have any personal thing against Thoth or anybody that likes Thoth. When you start to see the history that has gone down here, you get a lot more wise about who you might be talking to in the New Age movement. Thoth has stayed in that association until 1992, when something called the Pleiadian-Syrian agreements were made, where we finally got some of the Anunnaki to agree to not come in here and do the devastation. That was made before they really knew for sure whether a stellar activation cycle would fully commence. That wouldn't be known until 1998, when the grids got up high enough. If they got up high enough, they could anchor the stellar bridge. They entered these agreements in 1992, Syrian-Pleiadian agreements. Okay, we'll be nice, we'll enter the Emerald Covenant. Yeah, so you're not going to stop us from talking to people and that kind of stuff, right? We'll help them ascend, right? Yeah. Well, in January 2000, when the grids activated, and we knew we were going into stellar activation, they changed their mind. they decided now's our chance. Now that it's certain that it's going into stellar activation, we can't pass up this chance. Some of them stayed in the Emerald Covenant. Some of them broke it. Thoth's group broke it. So he is back over in that agenda. Now this agenda that started in 25,500 BC has progressed. It progressed from that point. It progressed up into the 22,326 BC Eoni massacre. And then it progressed up further. There was another outbreak of the whole bunch of them. I didn't finish the stalemate part. What happened in 22,326 BC, why we're still here to talk about it, is they decimated the Eoni civilization. But we had managed to do enough with the grids to get the gates to shut down. It went into pole shift again. It wasn't as bad as some of the others, but it went into pole shift again. But it shut down the gates. They need the gates open to finish what they had planned to do. So fortunately, we got to be able to close the gates. If that hadn't happened, they would have come in for the kill then. But it was left as a stalemate till the next stellar activation cycle. That's when it would be finished. This is the next stellar activation cycle. Now, after the gates were forced closed, that created the conditions that led up to, there was a glacial period after that. If you look at historical records, it went from somewhere, I think they placed around 21,000 BC up till about 14,000 BC. That was actually amplified in 20,000 BC when they took what was happening with the grids and made it even worse for another reason that we'll get into in the stuff later this afternoon that had to do with Gate 11 and the quest for Gate 11. But since the stalemate of the Eoni massacre in 22,326 BC, you had an interesting condition. You had Guardians hanging on to Shield 11, right? The activator for Gate 11. You had Thoth and his group hanging on to CDD Plate 11. We finally stole it back in 1999. This is why they didn't let me release any information on the plates until after November of 1999. Because it was still trying to get the last plate back. 11. That was 11. And they needed 11 for the activator for the shield for Site 11. Because what the basic thing is that the Anunnaki races want to do is they want to get control of Earth's planetary grids under a reverse D11 code. That means it can run 11 dimensions of frequency, but it will run it on a reverse matrix fire letter sequence, just like Nibiru. Now the Dracs hate this. The Dracs have 10-code DNA. They can't live on an 11-code planet. They want to get rid of the Anunnaki, and they want to take over from Gate 10. We'll get into where these gates are located, and it's kind of amusing when you start to say, oh, that's why there's still problems over there. Okay? Gate 10 and 11 have been like the primo gates. They want to get rid of Gate 12, and there's two different groups that want to take over, 111, 110. So there's been this whole chain of things happening with the quest for Cloister Door Tour Plate 10 and Shield 10, but that has been secured. Actually, it landed in the activator plate landed in Drac hands somewhere. They haven't given me the whole history on the Drac side yet, because right now the Dracs are the ones to worry about less. It's the Anunnaki that are coming in for the kill big time now, and now they've all joined forces. So the real ones that they've given me the history, because this is where the big deception is happening. Most of the people talking to people in the New Age movement are Anunnaki. You know? That's, and you know, I mean, things like Archangel Michael. This is not an angel. You know? Some angels are. There's the Archangel Gabriel matrix. They're okay. They're affiliated. They're Anunnaki. They are Anunnaki, but they're okay. They didn't go over into the negative agenda. They stayed in the Emerald Covenant agenda. So we're not saying that all Anunnaki are bad. They were created for a negative purpose, and they have genetic problems because of it. They were created on a reverse matrix, and they were created to wipe out humans. But that doesn't mean, as individuals, some of them choose to not do that. And there have been. That's why the bioregenesis programs have been there. But right now, in the New Age movement, you have 90% Anunnaki. You don't have too many Dracs in the New Age movement. You have them in the UFO movement. So these two movements, this is the two agendas, okay? You have little crossovers in between, but the major saturations are UFO movement equals Drac, and New Age movement equals Anunnaki. You know? It's like, does anybody equal good guys up here? Yeah. there are good guys working through each of them as well, trying to reach the people and get them disentangled. But all this stuff is a very ancient problem that took place. It's only recent stuff has been happening since 25,500 BC. The big thing that was the problem in 25,500 BC was between that point and 22,326 BC, Nibiru got control of Stargate 4, so the solar Stargate, which is when the stellar bridge, or that frequency pillar, the Maharata pillar, comes down and anchors into the planet during a stellar activation cycle. It comes down through a chain of stargates. It comes down through the Lyra gates. It goes from the Arimatena gate, then into the Avion gate at D11, then into the D10 Vega gate, then into the D9 Andromeda gate, D8 Orion gate, D7 Arcturus gate, D6 Sirius B gate, D5 Palladian gate, D4 Solar gate. That's where we got a problem, because they have the ability to block that frequency from coming through and to reverse it. If they leave that gate, they have that solar spiral now that leads into Earth. If they don't release it, it's running right now on reverse fire letter sequences, part of it. Its electrical spiral is running reverse. Its magnetic is still all right. But if that isn't released and those fire letters don't go back in the solar merkaba, in the Earth's connection to the solar merkaba, if it doesn't go back into its natural alignment, it will create pole shift as the gates open, as the higher gates open, when there's enough frequency coming in, pushing in from the higher levels, and it just can't process through those fire letters. They know this. And they were supposed to, when they entered the Emerald Covenant again in 1992, the agreement was, you have to, by 2000, hand over control of the solar gate, put it back in, guardian control like it was always supposed to be. You did steal it, remember? And they were supposed to return Plate 11. Okay? This was part of the agreements. Well, they made the agreements. What happened from that period way back, there's a bunch of stuff in the middle that we'll get into this afternoon, because I have a chart that shows you this progression of something called the Atlantean Conspiracy. It's mind-blowing. Right? And these are just some of the little dates that fit into this. There's a chain of, I think there might be 30 of them on the list, of events that have taken place between now and 25,500 BC. I actually started at 50,000 BC when they went in and wiped out Lemuria. Okay? But it shows you this progression. What is
They wiped out.
Well, in 50,000 BC. That was even before the 25,500 BC. See, this stuff built since Seeding 3 was put here. As soon as we were put here, they started with the infiltration. The fallen angelics started with infiltration. But it really got into trouble from 25,500 BC on, because that's when they grabbed the solar spiral, which means they controlled half of the Giza teleport, because it was a teleport for a long time. Gate 4 opens into Giza. It's also a main access point to access other grid lines. And they have been using the Nibiru and Dyadic crystal grid location. Now we did manage to get the crystals out. We took the grid down, but we weren't able to get the one out of parallel Earth, because they already reversed the grids over there, and they control parallel Earth at this point. A lot of problems over there. They are using the parallel Earth set of crystals to control the area here that was keyed to them, even though we managed to come in, our guys managed to come in and get rid of them. I think it's 7,000, no, this was 5,900 BC. We pulled the final set of crystals out. We did it several times, but that was the last time that they even bothered putting them in. They can still run the grids from there. So Stonehenge and Giza are being used to anchor this planet to Nibiru. That has to be broken. And it's interesting because the Stonehenge location falls right on a line between 2 points in Earth's shields, Stargate 11 and Q-Site 11, the activator site in the gate. Because what they can do with that there is you have the frequency coming over. When Gate 11 activates, you have the frequency coming over from the Q-Site, the activator site. It'll pass through the Stonehenge grid, reverse its matrix, and activate Gate 11 on a reverse matrix. That's the plan. This is a plan that we have been trying to undo since the time it started. Now, we managed to create a stalemate in 22,326 BC. At that point, we got the gate shut down fast enough. It caused pole shift, but at least they didn't get the whole thing. At least they didn't take over. We wouldn't be here worrying about it now. Everything that has taken place since then, part of the history, part of the stories we know about, has been about this setup, about getting the Nibiruian diotic crystal grid. Now, actually, we're not going to make it dysfunctional. We can use it to our advantage if we can recode it on a frontward spiral letter sequence. It's a D11 grid. Okay, the program in the Nibiruian diotic crystal grid is a D11 program. There's one thing that will override that, a D12 program. Gate 12 and the Maharata current can be used to recalibrate it and flip it back over, where you can actually use it to enhance how the grids hold 12th dimensional frequency. That's the plan. Now the plan has to be done in several steps. We need to first, this is what the Iani were trying to do in 22,326 BC. They were supposed to use the Kauai, Hawaii, what's now Kauai, Hawaii location. That used to be in Lemuria. That was the Lemurian continent once upon a time. Use that location, which is Q site 12. That you activate that first, that'll activate gate 12, which is actually in France, in Montsegur. Okay? Use the Kauai location to activate gate 12 and link the activator site to the Sirius B gate, D6 gate. Stabilize the frequencies from the D6 level, which overrides the D4 level where the Nibiruians have it, and part of gate 5 is compromised by the part of the Alcyone Council called the Ashtar Command. It is the Nibiruian version of the Alcyone Council. They were once cooperative with us. Both Ashtar Command, Galactic Federation, these guys, at times, they would work the Emerald Covenant, but they are the Anunnaki versions, and they at times work with us and at times work totally in opposition on the Anunnaki agenda. So anyway, we were supposed to use gate 6 to link in the activator site 12, Q site 12, in Kauai. This is what we're going to do. This is why we're going to Kauai. Once that was done, the natural frequencies would run from Q site 12 into Montsegur gate 12. So we have gate 12 activated. Then the plan was to go to Q site 11 to pull the frequencies from gate 12 up to Q site 11. Okay? So this is why we're going to Ireland, because it's in Ireland. This has been the quest. This is why they were hiding a bunch of stuff. See, gate 11, Q site 11, and gate 11 were in Atlantis. They were in Lojas, Atlantis, northeastern Atlantis. Best way to hide something is to put it right under your nose and call it something else. Well, that actually draws attention to it. The best way is to rename it, make people think it's something else. If you're looking for a pen, but you're trained to think that that pen is actually an apple, and you see apple because you're looking at it and this is what you think it is, you're going to look somewhere else for the pen. Most of the Atlantean islands didn't sink in 9558 BC. Portions of them did, but most of them didn't. The big secret was trying to hide what's going on with gate 11 and Q11. Gate 11 is in what's called the Vale of Pusey area in southern England, which is a place between Stonehenge and Avebury.
Where's the other one?
Avebury, Avebury. Yeah, it's like right in between there. If you drew a line on a map, it's the central point. And it's also where there's a bunch of these white horses carved in chalk from the ancient days. All right, that's where gate 11 is. It's running. There is a line of energy that runs in the planetary shields that runs from that gate 11 through where Stonehenge is and then up into Ireland, where Q site 11 is. So what we were supposed to do is after we got the 12 setup activated, we didn't have to go to France because there's no problem with gate 12. It will run, once you activate Q site 12, it'll run the frequency right down into gate 12. But then we had to go up to Q site 11 and draw the frequency. So we'll be drawing frequency from France, from gate 12 at France, up into Ireland at gate 11. Or not gate 11, Q11. And then we have to go to England. And we are going to bring that frequency, with this now D12 coded frequency, bring it through into, we're going to the Vale of Pusey area. We're going to activate the gate 11 site pulling the frequency through the Stonehenge grid, which will make it run through the Nibiruian diotic crystal grid, and it will recode it because D12 frequency is stronger than D11 frequency. So it will reverse it back to its natural pattern. This is what we have been trying to do since the Eoni period in 22,326 BC. That's what we tried to do there. Didn't work, but at least we got them where they didn't take over the whole place. But they've been progressively infiltrating ever since then because they had half of the Giza spiral. Now, another time, there are several other times, this was tried in the Egyptian period, this was tried in Atlantis, but we didn't get it then either, like the period around the flood. What happened after the Lucifer Rebellion, 25,500 BC period, and then the 22,326 BC Eoni massacre, was in 10,500 BC. Something called the Luciferian conquest began. Okay, this was an extension of the Luciferian